Remember, folks, that what God told Moses to build in the earth was patterned after what? The true tabernacle which the Lord pitched where? In the tabernacle on earth, was there a most holy place that was guarded by a veil that they were only allowed into once a year? When they went into the Holy of Holies and they went behind the veil, if the priest messed up in one thing in the ministering of the priest office, God did what? Boom! Dead. Because they were entering into the very presence of God on the other side of that veil. Psalm chapter 136, look at verse 6. Notice, to him that stretched out the earth above the what? That means, folks, that the earth is above what? Water. And when He made the firmament, He divided the waters from the what? Psalm 148, verse 4. Praise Him. Notice, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that are above what? So if the first heaven is the atmosphere around the earth, and the second heaven is the starry sky that we call space, then there's also water above there. So the verses are matching exactly what God said He did in Genesis 1. That He opened a firmament and He divided the water from the waters, and into the firmament of heaven He put the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, and He put them all in there above the water and below the water. So the next time some wise guy, come with me to Genesis chapter 7, the next time some wise guy comes to you and says, you know, brother, there can't be an earthly flood in the time of Noah because there's just not enough water in the earth or in the water cycle to flood the whole earth. Guess what? The earth ain't the only place with water in the universe. There's something called the deep. And the deep has what in it? Where did the water come from that God used to flood the earth? Look at Genesis chapter 7, verse 11. Notice this. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day, notice, were the fountains of what? The great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven what? Listen, when that earth was flooded, that water came from in the where? In the deep. And God literally opened up windows and shafts in the heavens, and that water poured out of that deep and flooded the earth. Come back with me to Genesis 1. Verse 4. God saw the light, that it was what? Good. Go to verse 12. God brought forth, and the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw that it was what? Go to verse 18. And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness, and God saw that it was what? Good. Verse 21. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and God saw that it was what? Now go back to verse 6, 7, and 8. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the heaven, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made a firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and evening and morning were the second day. What doesn't it say about the second day? It doesn't say it was what? Why wasn't it good? Why was every other day of creation good, but the second day was not good? By the way, the firmament is the second heaven. I should have told you that before. But who's out here in the second heaven and the heavens? The reason why the heaven is not good is because that second heaven is the realm of where the fallen angels inhabit. Now you don't believe that, Come with me to Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. A lot of you could probably quote this verse. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. What does Paul say? He says, "For we wrestle not against" what? Flesh and blood. But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness where? In high places. Come with me to Isaiah chapter 24, please. Isaiah chapter 24. Paul says we wrestle against principalities, powers in high places. Isaiah chapter 24, verse 21. "And it shall come to pass in that day," notice, "that the Lord shall punish," notice, "the host of the high ones that are where?" Who's that? Who's the host of the high ones that are on high? That's angels. And he says that they are on high, and Paul says that we wrestle against principalities, powers, mights, dominions, against spiritual wickedness where? In high places. Because out there in the second heaven is where these fallen angelic beings have inhabited and usurped the governmental authorities that Satan went after in his rebellion. Come with me to Job 15. Look at this. Job 15:15. "He putteth no trust in his saints. Yea, the heavens are not" what? Folks, why aren't they clean? Why aren't they clean? Why is this set? Why did he say that every other day what he made was good? Except the second day when he made the firmament of heaven. Because who's in the firmament of heaven? Who has been kicked out of and removed from the third heaven? Who used to be the anointed cherub that covered this throne and went out and trafficked the plan of evil amongst those heavenly hosts? And God cast him as profane out of the mountain of God. Lucifer. And he was cast out, and his angels were cast out with him. And the place that they occupy now is the firmament, the second heaven. This is the abode of the enemies of God. You ever notice that Leviathan in Job chapter 41? It calls Leviathan a dragon, and it says that he make the deep to boil as a pot. Because where is he at? He's down here. He's not up here anymore. He's been cast out. And his angels were cast out what? Come with me to Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. Any of you ever been up a high-rise building? Like the John Hancock Tower, the Sears Tower, or one of these skyscrapers? Okay? What terminology do we use to state how tall these buildings are? They're X number of what? Stories. Okay? As you go up, are you ascending to a higher and a higher story? Amos chapter 9, look at verse 6. "It is he that buildeth his stories" where? In the heavens. The Hebrew word here translated stories is translated 11 other times in the Old Testament as steps, stairs 5 times, and go up 1 time. If there are stories in heaven, then are there levels of authority? What did Satan say in Isaiah chapter 14? He said, "I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God." He's talking about moving up the echelon to a higher seat of accountability and authority. So there are, in the heavens, stories, positions of authority that God made. Go back with me to Colossians chapter 1, verse 16. "For by him were all things created that are" where? In heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether they be what? Thrones. Now notice, please, does that say throne singular?